Yeah, Hoops Nation, and welcome to a feast week, NAIA feast week edition of the Road to Muni podcast. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I hope everybody's traveling safe, especially all the teams that seem to be traveling. Got a lot of, like we mentioned earlier, last week episode, coming off a big week of a little bit of everything. We started off the week with the battle at the beach, and then we had a lot of really great conference action in between, and then we're wrapping up the week here with the NAIA the show, which has already had a couple really fun games. And I know we're actually recording this on Saturday, so a couple of games we won't be able to cover from the Saturday evening and Sunday games. But Coach, I know this has been a fun-filled week, just as it seems like it always every week is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Saw a good matchup earlier in the week, that we highlighted last week with that Indiana Wesleyan Grace matchup. And yeah, like you said, Battle at the Beach was good. Show's rolling right now. Good game going on tonight. And so, yeah, it's going to continue to be a fun weekend in NAIA hoops, and another good one ahead next week.
Yeah, and just jumping into the Battle at the Beach, Florida College, two games out of their, I think, 6 wins this year have been off the buzzer beater shots. One was a 74-footer. This one is a little bit more, executed, I think, than luck. I think the 74-footer, you just never know what happens. You just throw it up and hope you get lucky. This one was just a purpose, or the free throw was purposely missed, and you don't get a bounce like that off the rim every time, but just kind of went perfect and right in the hands of the free throw shooter, kicked out for 3, and the Falcons survived another one. Actually came back from down 22 in that game too, but I just wanted to play for a buzzer beater to win that game.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, and sometimes you need a little luck along the way too, and you could try that one as many times you want in practice, and it rarely does the opportunity and the execution go hand in hand, and to do both those plays in the same year. And they're in the middle of a tough stretch of games, and they're finding ways to win. That's another team that's rebuilt a lot from last year, losing Simpson, everything else. And so Chase does a great job, and they're really rolling, doing a nice job right now. So
yeah, and sometimes games like that, I mean, I know they already had one buzzer beater, but even 2 now, it just kind of changes the aura. You almost, I think the players kind of feed off that, sense off that, and like we saw them kind of going a run after their last one, and maybe we'll see another big run here coming out of the second one. But really fun game, and really fun, I think, between 2 good games. I mean, SAGU the next day turned around and beat number 8 Freed Hardeman. This is a team that I think in the 3-game stretch, they lost to number 9 LSU Shreveport by 1. They turned around and had that buzzer beater loss to Florida College, and then turned around and knocked off number 8 Freed Hardeman the next day. That's a heck of a 3-game stretch right there. And I know Delton Deal does a really good job down at SAGU. So
yeah, no, that was good to watch. And back on Florida College too. I mean, they came back and beat up Loyola pretty good too in that final game out there. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. So Faulkner picked up a couple wins too, right? So
yeah, and Freed, just to talk about them a little bit, I know we kind of bookended the week with 2 classics, and I know for a team like them, with the Mid-South Conference, going down to 7 teams, which is just we haven't talked about a lot, but one of the powerhouse conferences in the NAIA lost a lot of teams, are down to 7 teams, and now these teams in the league that are remaining are having to scramble to find games. And so you're seeing a Freed Hardeman team who started off the week in the Battle of the Beach, and then having to end the week in the NAIA the show, which is I believe the first time, and I think both have been going on at the same time for 3 years. I think it's the first team that ever done that.
Yeah, I have not seen that one before. So yeah, the old double dip, but they're getting good games. I mean, that's the bottom line. They're getting to play some good games and get up against good competition. And so, yeah, we have to see how it goes for them.
Yeah, and I know some of these recaps from this week are gonna highlight the injury bug going around a little bit. And I know Freed's right now is playing without their All-American Riley McLaren. So a team that is having to travel a lot and cover ground, but if they can go get through this week without one loss, it's pretty much a win. I would say chalk that up to a win in this week, because when you're short manned and playing a lot of games in 1 week, that's pretty impressive. But just dive in, like I said, into the kind of the top 25 rundown here. And not just top 25 rundown, but just some of the recaps that we saw throughout the week. I know College of Idaho, after we talked about last week, losing the Vanguard, has bounced back and like we mentioned, they did what good teams do. They bounced back and they've I think won both games by double figures now, and it's fun to watch them when they're rolling. I mean, when they're clicking, they are very, very good, and probably losing the number 1 ranking this week. I can't imagine they'll drop more than probably number 2. So.
No, I mean, we covered that ad nauseum last week, and it had every expectation they would come back even stronger, which they have. So, so good teams do, elite teams do.
Yeah. And speaking of probably the new number 1 team in the country, and a game that you had highlighted on the Coach's Corner segment from last week with keys to success, and I just want to let you know, I know that you've had a bad run of high school, a little bit of games that were blowouts, and this game was a lot closer than the score probably shown. I mean, I know Grace was down 12.5, and then man, I tell you what, if they play like they did in the second half of the Indiana Wesleyan game, I don't know many people are going to be able to beat them this season.
No, I mean, like we highlighted too, just their efficiency on offense, it's frankly remarkable. I mean, they were incredibly impressive, in particular in that second half. I mean, I think they were 67% or something like that in the second half from the field, 55 from 3, 80 from the free throw line. It was, the end of the game, pretty much 60% from the field, 50% from 3, hit 13 of them, right? And they were almost 73, 74% from the free throw line. You're just not going to lose very often with that. Multiple guys getting in the mix, several guys in double. I think you had 5 guys in double digits. So yeah, the things we talked about that needed to happen for Wesleyan to be able to go on the road and get a win there, they weren't able to do. But same thing with Wesleyan, just like we're talking about. I mean, they're going to come back and learn from that game, and I'm confident they're going to be hunting at the end of the season as well. But yeah, it was a really, really fun game to watch. Big swings, and it's a tough place to go win at.
Yeah, and most definitely, and 2 really good programs like we talked about last week. Wouldn't be surprised if both those teams end up in the Fab 4 run or better. So, and I was down 1 player too. I mean, we're going to see them get better, drastically better here. And not that they're a bad team by any means. I mean, I thought even without them, they're a top 10 team in the country. But they're going to be full of strength here soon and be pretty good as well. And then just kind of staying in the conference a little bit there. I know. Huntington out to a slow start and probably not where they want to be at right now, but coming off a big win today on Saturday against Holy Cross, and maybe even just asking you, Coach, I mean, when you're in a drought, sometimes 1 win, right? You just got to find that 1 win to kind of get your confidence back, and then maybe that 1 win, no matter who it's against, can kind of roll you into multiple wins. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it can be a grind, and seasons have their high moments and they have their low moments. And the only thing you can do, from my perspective, when you're in that rut, is just stay focused on execution, effort and execution. I mean, and just relentlessly pursue being your best in both those areas, and eventually you'll get on the top side of it. But I mean, most games are only a handful of possessions one way or the other. So it's pretty rare to not be able to watch the film and say, yep, we could have done that better. And just stay focused on the process and focused on execution. Try not to focus too much on the results, but I mean, it does matter, right? They do start piling up, but you really got to try to kick that out of your mind as much as possible, and just keep your mindset on the things you can actually control.
Yeah, and I think that when you have veteran leadership in a first team All-American and maybe National Player of the Year candidate, depending on how things turn around, but Zach Goodline is maybe as good of a point guard in the country, and when you talked about it in several episodes now, when you have good guard play, you can turn things around too. And I think he's like I said, as good as it gets maybe at the point guard spot in the NAIA, and You don't expect them to stay down long, and maybe today's win on Saturday here will help propel them into several more. Because I love watching that team play. They're really good as well, and slow starts happen. And see early in the season,
Yeah.
we'll see how conference play turns around. And I will say, I mean, staying in the crossroads since we're on the topic, and I know we're going to bring up some teams that are having some good starts. You got a Spring Arbor team that's turning around, and all of a sudden they're got a big win over Marion, and I believe 7-1 to start the season, and that's pretty impressive to I know a team that won a national title I think 5 years ago, and I know that they were kind of rebuild mode for a while, and now all of a sudden they're coming off to start the season and looking good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that league's full of good teams, and Coach Cottingham does a great job. He has for a long time, obviously, and again, not like they're not strangers to winning. I mean, to win a national championship is incredibly difficult to do, and they did that not too long ago. So certainly a team to watch and continue to see their trajectory and how they move through the year. And I know you were going to talk about switch to some other leagues and talk about teams too that we're starting to take notice of a little bit. But as teams begin to get some of these signature wins that sort of validate some of the other non-conference play they've had, you start raising your eyebrows a little bit and going, maybe that squad's got something to them. So.
Yeah, if you have not read our stock rise report, that's kind of the whole point of that segment is just I felt like over the last couple of years there were some teams like a Point Park who maybe didn't have the best strength of schedule, but and even an IU Southeast team last year, both teams out of the River States Conference that won the end of the year on a major win streak, and just teams that are playing well that maybe aren't top 25 quite yet, but just maybe are starting to get on the radar, and that's the point of that. And I think that that's a team. I know two teams that have remained hot since being featured in that article is a team Briarcliff and then Ava Maria, who is out of Florida, that's playing really well as well.
Yeah, that's a great report that you've been putting out, and it's fun to watch some of those teams coming up. Ave's down at the show, and I saw they took it to Pikeville pretty good today, and haven't taken a loss yet. They were able to knock off Florida College at Florida College, which doesn't happen very often. I think only a couple times in Coach Teichman's career there so far that they've lost at home. So yeah, it's a team to watch. They can really score the ball. Putting up great numbers offensively, and Briarcliff, others like that too. It's just fun to watch some of these teams start getting some momentum. And like I said, when you get wins like Ave did today, like a Pikeville win, I mean, you start validating some of that other non-conference play and saying, okay, this team is certainly seems to be legit and moving forward. Coach Copeland's working hard down there, and be curious to see what they do tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think the fun part about them and Briarcliff both is that while I think both have probably that signature player, they are having different leading scores every night, and that makes them very, very tough to guard as well, because when you can shut down one player, you always have to have depth, obviously, as personnel wise goes, but when you can have guys that can score the ball in multiple ways, and then you have multiple scores that can step up when a player's having an off night or just being guarded, scan report, some reasons shutting them down, you got to have guys step up. And I think that's what Ava's done, and is what Briarcliff has done as well. So two fun teams. I think that we've mentioned in our articles, but wanted to make sure we paid or brought it back up in the podcast just because they deserve it. I mean, they played really good basketball to start the season here.
Yep.
And then and we'll see what kind of happens inside the top 25 polls this week when it comes out. But every year, or every poll, I should say, not even every year, but every poll that comes out, you kind of see a big swing with the back end, the top 25, and people moving out and in. And you got teams like MNU, who we've featured in this one with the Oklahoma Wesleyan game. They've lost a couple, and now Ed Wright's out, and their leading scorer, who's been very, very big for them. And we'll see. He was in a boot last game, so never know on those injuries and how long they're out. You got a team like Dort, who crept into the top 25 last poll, but lost to Morningside on the road. I mean, that's conference road wins are hard to come by. So they're a team that snuck in, and we'll see what that did to them, losing to another top 25 team. Then you got Antelope Valley, who's lost a couple games now towards the back end of the top 25, and then Xavier, who we mentioned in the or mentioned the Battle of the Beach earlier, had a loss and then turned around and had a nice win. So you know, you just kind of see, you know, losses this time of year can kind of you have probably 20 teams from 20 to 40 that can kind of just, you know, one right win can move you way up, and one, you know, loss, even if it's not a bad loss, can move you out of the top 25. And that's just kind of how it kind of shapes out the entire season. So
Yeah, and I think you're going to start seeing some teams getting in that, you know, receiving votes category that we, you know, some faces we haven't seen before. I think there are a few teams like, you know, I think I wouldn't be surprised if from the Sun we see both Ave and Florida Memorial start if they complete their sweeps at the show. That, you know, you could see both those teams moving up into the receiving votes category, and then you got some teams in that same camp, you know, Pikevilles of the world and stuff like that might start falling off that list. But that's a fluid, you know, range at 20 to 40, like you said. I think, you know, the GPAC is an interesting league. I think it's probably one, you know, we'll be highlighting some games here in the next few weeks, I'm sure. But, you know, I think Dort's got the big rivalry, I think, coming up this week, and Dort Northwestern. That's always a huge game, and both those teams are really good this year. Morningside's really good. So I think you got to, yeah, I mean, that league certainly deserves some attention as well.
yeah, it's always a league that, yeah, I mean, they have about 5 teams that I think they've actually gotten 5 teams in, and then you got a Jamestown team who is actually the only team who in all 3 years have made it to Kansas City so far. So
Yep.
you know, it's maybe we'll see what happens this year. You know, if they can turn it around and stuff to make it 4 straight years. But GPAC's always good. I know they've had a couple teams in Kansas City almost every year as well. So that's a good point on that one, and I'm sure they'll be discussed lots this year because it's just a good league. And you know, just transitioning over, Coach. I mean, we kind of did a recap, but getting into this week, we also have some big games coming up here, and I know you have one circled here.
Yeah, no, we do, Junior. Got some really good games this week, and actually it was a little bit of a tricky week to come up with which one I wanted to go with. But in the spirit of trying to spread the wealth a little bit and make sure we're getting to all parts of the country, we're gonna highlight a matchup that's, I don't know, on paper we probably have to research and find out, but this might be the most miles traveled by a team this season. So Masters out of California is heading all the way down to Miami, Florida. They're gonna play Florida Memorial, and then they're also going to end up playing Kaiser. But the game I want to highlight is Florida Memorial Masters. That's happening on Thursday night, 7 o'clock, down at Florida Memorial, which, for those of you that haven't seen the Florida Memorial Arena, by the way, just as a plug for them, it's kind of like a Xavier type arena. I mean, it's incredible. It's a Division I facility, basically. So really fun environment, fun place to tune into. But yeah, so Masters is heading down there. So Masters sitting at number 20 nationally. I would anticipate they'll click up a few notches. They've had a clean sheet since the last ranking, and plenty of teams have lost above them. So I'd look to see them move up to, you know, 15, 16, somewhere in there. They're heading 2,800 miles roughly. I had to get the Google Maps out or whatever feature you use, but they're heading about 2,800 miles to get down to Miami. So I'd be very curious. I know you mentioned last year made that trip for the national tournament, and so yeah, it's going to be a long trip for them. You know, that's a team that, you know, ceiling. I think their best basketball is ahead of them as well. I mean, some really good individual players. They shoot the ball extremely well, and you know, it's really a fun team to watch if you haven't had a chance to see them yet. And then Florida Memorial, you know, you got a national championship coach Delano on the bench, Stock moving up for sure. I anticipate they'll be getting votes in the next poll. They're undefeated so far. Coach Thomas is going at Shawnee tonight, I think, at the show, so that'd probably be, personally for him, a pretty fun matchup. That's where they won the national title. So, you know, Florida Memorial's a really fun team to watch. Both these teams have a lot of length. I think Flomo's got a 7-footer starting in the middle, so there's some really good length and good play all around. So it should be a fun matchup. What we're watching on this one, is it going to be raining in Miami? Masters makes 11 threes a game, and they shoot almost 30 a game. I think a big key for them is just do that, right? If they can make 10 plus threes, they're going to be in really good shape. They have, I think, 3 guys over 40%. I mean, it's really a fun team to watch, like you're watching the Warriors out there. Florida Memorial holding teams, though, to 28% per game from 3. So Florida Memorial, good defensive team, doing a nice job taking away the 3. So I think a key for them is, can they run shooters off the line and push them into that length that they have in the middle, right? Not just a 7-footer, but they got a few other guys, too, that can get up and block shots and alter shots. So I think if they can keep Masters under 8, if they keep them in the 6, 7, 8 range for made threes, I think that'd be a win for them on that game. So limiting second chances. I think this one goes for both teams. Florida Memorial is averaging 17 offensive rebounds a game. It's 4th in the NAIA right now. A lot of times they send 4 guys to the glass, and really, really athletic team, and you'll see that when you watch them play. And they go smart, though. They go in there and they're attacking. They're not picking up, cheap fouls. They're just really attacking the glass and playing really hard. So got to keep them off the glass. But then Masters, just a click below them, 14 offensive rebounds a game. It's 19th in the NAIA. I think for Masters, they get a lot of theirs just simply because they're taking a lot of threes, right? Long shots or long rebounds, and you end up seeing them get a lot of those long caroms coming back. So keys for both of them is, which can hold the other team to single digits and really value those possessions. And then just want to point out for Florida Memorial, they're kind of a little bit of a prove it stretch right now, I would say. Haven't had a ton of, exposure in the top 25 by way of scheduling, but right now they're in the middle of a stretch playing Union, Shawnee, and then Masters, right? Currently 1-0. They picked up the win versus Union at the show, and going to see Shawnee tonight there as well. If they happen to pick up that one, then going to that Masters game, I think that's really a prove it type game. I think they have Morningside coming up here in a couple weeks as well. So stock is rising, but when you're outside the top 25 and you're trying to rebuild and get your name in the mix, you got to keep winning. There's not a lot of margin for error there for anybody. So that's the game I'm most interested in as we move into this week, and there's several good ones, but this one should be a pretty fun one down in Miami Gardens.
Yeah, no, I it's funny, mileage wise, they may have the longest trip already. I would have to check because they went out to Oklahoma City already to start the season. So
I know Grace went up to Oregon, right? So that was true. That's probably a little bit of a rival, but I don't know, man. Going from the Southern California all the way down to Miami, we're gonna be hard pressed to find one that beats that. So if you got one,
that'll be interesting. So
yeah,
we'll see. I like it. Rain in 3, or is it raining in Miami? It'll be definitely a good one to watch there. And I love both those teams. I love both coaches. I love a lot about this game. So well done on that one. And I'm gonna point out another one just because I'm gonna end the segment here, but I'm actually really looking forward to on Tuesday to we mentioned the River States conference already earlier, and I think that 2 teams that are facing off that could win the River States this year, and Point Park heading down to Rio Grande, and I'm excited about that one. And I just wanted to really just touch base on it because I know it doesn't always live up into the top 25 hype with the league, but then they always have a team that end up going to Kansas City, or I think I know IU Kokomo went 2 years, but those are 2 games to maybe watch. But shoot, I mean, especially conference games coming up this week, we're gonna have a lot to talk about next week. Let's just put it at that because there's some big time matchups throughout the week, and as always, we'll have it covered on the website. I know our top 25 poll. I got a 9-hour drive tomorrow, but whenever I get home, that top 25 will be out. We always put it out the Sunday before the top 25. The coaches poll top 25 is released here on Thursday. So we are looking forward to another great week. Until then, this is Coach Lubbers and Junior signing off.